Welcome to this episode of Chattin with Staxx. I'm your host, Bill Staxx, and today we got Larry Mazza.
Instead, the Persicos still have it, I guess. I mean, I don't even know for sure. I know they have it, but I don't know who's at the top anymore. You know, guys are coming in and out of jail. Heard Teddy came out, and it was between him and Joe Waverly. And just stuff I read or heard. You know, I would like to think Joe Waverly would ride off into the sunset, to use that term again. You know, you just got out. The 5 years before that, it was crumbling. We were shooting each other. We shot at him. He shot at us. And now you're going to go back. I mean, I don't know if he is or he isn't, but his name was up there like he's going to take the reins, you know. But, you know, it's sad. It's sad the way everything turned out.
But so when you start meeting Greg for the first time and you're right. around him for a while, are you like, damn, this is the life I want? This is how I want to live?
Well, yes. It didn't start out that way because I wasn't thinking that way. I thought I was in a business and I had to come to his office that turns out to be a social club, but he does have an office in the back. I would come every day, go sit down, go over the invoices. You know, I actually had a trunk full of fire extinguishers that I would have to bring and drop off at the warehouse to have them redone. And within a couple of days,
so it's kind of like a real job.
It was. And I was building it, and I was, but here's the thing too. I would have a list of stores to go to and restaurants. I would go in. They knew I was coming, so they just couldn't do enough for me. Yeah, we'll take your paper products. We'll take your cleaning materials. Do the fire extinguishers. Anything we could do for their restaurant or business, they did. But they would say, then go into a few stores on the block. Go in and out of the other stores too. And if they told me no, I would go back and I'd say, yeah, Greg, you know, that other store, Rizzo's Pharmacy doesn't want me. Carmine. He calls Carmine to the back. Go see Rizzo tomorrow and tell him my nephew's coming in. The next day I go back. He's buying everything from me. So that influence I liked. I started understanding there's more to the world than the term. It's better who you know than what you know.
Yeah, the connection, because then you can make things happen.
Right. So he was doing it. So now, but I started liking that. I like going out with him at night, and you know, when we go to the bar and the guys would treat us like, you know, we were royalty. So yeah, that's easy to seep in. But then when the business literally blew up, the warehouse blew up, and you know, I'll say it again. I don't know if it was an insurance job or what to this day.
The fire,
all of a sudden, it's over and done. And I later found out Greg just hated legitimate businesses. So that's when Linda stepped back in and says, "Well, we got to do something to him. He's off the fire department desk. He dropped out of college. So that's when the door opened, and they put me in the lowest business, which is numbers. You just pick up numbers." But again, even that was predetermined. Go here, go there, go there. And I was getting the numbers from 5 different places.
Have you met Greg Jr. yet? And when did you first meet Greg Jr.? And how did Greg Sr. introduce you to Greg Jr.?
Well, at first, obviously, Jr. knew I wasn't a blood relative. But Greg made it clear that he cared for me. He says, this is one of us. He's going to be with us. And later on, Gregory got it and understood. Like I was like we were like cousins, you know. And Greg used to say I was like a son to him, so we could say we were like brothers. We're still tight, Greg Jr. and I. We talk all the time. You know, he's home now, thank God. Been home a few years, and he's got a job, and he's trying to keep himself. Well, he is staying clean and out of trouble. Not trying. There's no way to get in trouble where he is. There's nobody around. He's in a nice, quiet area. But, you know, we talk about, you know, what we all went through, and the father turning out to be what he was, that really hurt a lot, you know?
Yeah, that's one of the questions I have for you that people want to know. They want to know, how do you feel about Greg Scarpa Sr. now?
Okay. When it first happened, I was literally shell-shocked, okay? I was ready to fight with people over it, including Vic Arena and others. I couldn't believe it was possible. Then when it really came out, you know, in the newspapers and everything like that, I had to sort of put my tail between my legs, because it is what it is. He really is bad. But when I knew for a fact it was like a hand went in my chest and pulled my heart out. I was just like, I was out of body because here I am now thinking, I'm thinking, okay, I left my whole normal life, my own decision, and I'm being groomed and educated by the Grim Reaper. He's teaching me how to be a gangster's gangster, how to be a consummate made guy, how when you walk into a room, they'll know you're a wise guy. That's what he always told me. You don't have to say anything. They'll know. When you got it, they'll know when you walk in. And believe it or not, I started getting it a little bit because I would go places and wasn't broadcasting anything. Even to this day, it happens to me. You know. Anyway.
Well, you're starting off at a high level, like
well, exactly. At 18, 19, I'm with him. I'm his right hand man, and he was going to put me with Greg Jr. Because Greg was younger and his guys were younger. Linda won't let him. He comes direct to you. She had a lot to say in my growth in that life, believe it or not. Because she wanted me to be the next him, you know, especially God forbid something would happen to him. Not that we could have done it openly, but we would have been together somehow or another, you know. But getting back to what I was feeling, so now I'm in prison fighting this case for about a year and paying a ton to lawyers, investigators, and it comes out that he's bad.
Are you talking with him at this point? Is
Well,
there any communication?
I could go. The whole thing that went on in prison is uncanny. Okay, first they got all these separations. Nobody's allowed near each other. Me and Jimmy couldn't see each other. You know, they call SEPs. You know that.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, I go to a floor. Who's on the floor? Greg. So now me and Greg are together. You think they would have never let that happen? I don't know if they were hoping he'd slip or he'd convince me, but we never had any conversation about that. He never said, Larry, start thinking about yourself. You're going to go down the tubes. Just listen, I'm going to die soon. He didn't even have to tell me. He could have guided me one last time. He didn't. We're playing cards with gas pipe. There's still blood coming out of his eye that got shot out. Still oozes blood because he didn't want to get a patch or anything. So we're playing. The guy's got a big hole in it, and we're playing cards with him. And I remember gas pipe telling him, because we were winning. It was me and Greg against gas pipe and his guy. He says, how the fuck could you even see the cards? You could see out of that eye. He says,
were you playing spades?
No. Gin. Two-way gin, partners in gin. Yeah. We like gin rummy. So so now after that, they take me off that floor. They put me up with Vic Arena, and I hear Greg has to go to Rikers or somewhere else. So I don't know why, but it's all right. Now I'm on the floor with Vic Arena.
When you walk in and you find out that Vic Arena's there, are you thinking I'm going to kill this guy or anything like that?
No. That was already. First of all, they shouldn't allow us together. Again, he was my number one target. Me and Greg, us, Jimmy, and us. You know, so they shouldn't have. And they, like I said, they kept everybody apart. So when it happened, but earlier on, let me tell you a quick story. I get put on the floor when I first came in, and the welcome committee comes, as you know, 3 Italian guys bopping over with sunglasses, and you know, Baldy Mike Spinelli, a guy named Ralph Salerno, or Anthony Salerno, but it's not the Fat Tony Salerno. And who was the third guy that came over? Oh, how could I forget? Guy I grew up with, Mike DeSantis. And they got my little package with my toothpaste and my extra socks and, you know, the welcome committee.
Yeah.
I find out Patty Amano's on the floor. We were circling his house for months. And they asking me, you know, how do you feel about that? I says, look, I remember saying that. I says, I just want to fight this thing, get it over with. I mean, we ruined ourselves already with this nonsense. Let's just fight the case and try to go home. So they went and told Patty. He came over. He was so happy to hear I felt that way. And then he tells me the story. He says, I ran into Greg a few weeks ago on the elevator. They were taking me onto the elevator, and Greg was already on the elevator, but he was cuffed, Greg. He says he saw me, the rage in his face. He started running towards me with his hands cuffed behind his back. He wanted to bite me. He was going to bite him to death. And he had the AIDS too.
Oh
So,
man.
I mean, like, I'm laughing now. I'm going like this. I'm laughing. I'm saying, this fucking Greg is nuts to the end, to the very end.